If you're going to walk in faith, it means that God's going to lead you to a place of obedience. Obedience doesn't, there's people all the time who are saying, well, if the Lord leads me to do so and so, then I'll do it. And what they mean was, well, if I feel comfortable with that, I'll do it. If the Lord leads me, and so God led him out of Ur to Haran to Canaan, and faith leads us to obedience. There comes a time. Canaan means humiliation. And what humiliation also means is, that's where the word humble comes from. Being humble. We have to humble ourselves before the Lord. If we're going to continue to walk in obedience, you've got to become humble before the Lord. God can't use someone who's walking outside of humility. He has to have people who are willing to obey, and obedience takes humility, humbling ourselves before the Lord. Listen, anytime you walk in any kind of obedience, it requires humility. If you're going to walk in obedience to any kind of authority, it's going to require humility. So then we see that God called him. Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sichem, unto the plain of Moreh. And the Canaanite was in the land. So the word Sichem in the Hebrew, I looked this up, it means to incline. The shoulder to a burden. To place a burden on the shoulder. And literally it means to load up on the back of man or beast. To load up. So we go through this cycle with the Lord. Where when we reach a place of humiliation, then God places a burden on us. Now understand, it's not a burden that you're unable to carry. The Lord will help you carry, as a matter of fact. Jesus said, my yoke is easy, my burden's light. Why? Because he's helping us carry it. And so he leads us to Sichem, to a place where he loads up, and he loads up the back of men or beast, and then he leads him to Moreh, which means in the Hebrew, it's a primitive root that means properly to flow as water. Figuratively, it means this: to point out as if by aiming the finger to teach. Now, I said all of that. I gave you the meaning of those words from the Hebrew. I said all that to say this. Well, before I even go there, let me say the Canaanite. It says the Canaanite was in the land. The word Canaanite, by implication, means a peddler, a merchant, a trafficker. So, let me get this straight, God. You want me to leave this nice, comfortable place to go to a parched, a dry, uncomfortable place where people are living hellishly, to be humiliated, then to shoulder a burden that I would not have to shoulder if I stayed in her to start with. And Lord, I'm supposed to learn something in the midst of this or out of this experience and have enemies in opposition to boot. After I learn all this, God, are you crazy? That would kind of be my response if I was in Abram's position. God, are you crazy? And of course, I could hear the Lord saying now, nope, are you? That's why it's called faith. That's why it's called faith. It's like this. It's like God is saying, are you crazy enough to believe me? God, are you crazy? Nope. Are you crazy enough to believe me? Because sometimes that's what faith appears to be. Sometimes stepping out on faith appears to be something crazy. It appears to the natural mind, to those who are unconverted, who don't know the Lord, who don't have a relationship with God, to those folks, it looks like something weird. It looks like something crazy. But to God, it all makes sense. And it will to us if we'll obey it. If we'll walk in obedience and obey the Lord.